Hello. All right, there we go. So, what does hunting for greatness mean to you personally?
So hunting for greatness is actually the mission of my company, is to reconnect humanity back to Mother Nature and share my Algonquin heritage and culture with the world. And that's what hunting for greatness, the Native Ways, represents.
So, where did the idea for Native Ways Inc. come from?
Well, I'm a First Nation Algonquin native from the reservation of Kebaowek First Nation, also known as Eagle Village First Nation. And I've been actually quite affected by the residential schools and that with my history and my family. And so it's been a big mission of mine that is to pass on and try to help out our Indigenous people as much as I can. And so hunting for greatness, the Native Ways, was a name that came to me after a sweat lodge session I had. And I went with it ever since. So it's a big part of my culture and who I am and what I'm about.
So, how did your upbringing in Kapua shape the man you are today?
So my father was actually affected by the residential schools at a very young age of 2 years old. So he was adopted by a German English family with the last name Gatz. So if you've seen, my last name is not Gatz. My actual real native last name is Meness, Meness. And my dad was adopted by this German family from Kirkland Lake, which is near Matachewan First Nation reservation. And that's where I grew up as a child. And so when I grew up in an English-German family, and I didn't really know about my Indigenous roots and heritage till I was about 15, 16 years old. And at this point of life, it actually made me realize that I had a lot to learn about our own Indigenous heritage and culture. And so it made me continue on this journey of trying to promote our people and to let people know about everything about our history that has happened, especially to our Algonquin people from Ontario. So I ended up starting Hunting for Greatness, the Native Ways in 2020. When the pandemic happened, I was actually running a construction company called Gatz Contracting for over 12 years. And when the pandemic happened, I actually had to shut down my business. I actually went bankrupt. And that's when I realized that our world needs people to stand up and to speak for what is right and what is needed. And so the pandemic showed me a very important part in humanity's duty to actually take care of Mother Earth, take care of the people, and to help out each other. And so I ended up starting to learn about business. I bought this program for about $14,000 on how to write books and how to operate your basic business online. And so I started in March 2020. By the first year, I've written 2 books, which are worldwide, The Simple Hunting Guide and Eat My Meat, a beginner's field dressing guide for small game. And this was a way for me to actually share our education and our culture to the world. Most don't understand that we have a lot of knowledge that has been passed down from generation to generation. And a lot of us aren't sharing this with other cultures and with other people. And so it's come to me that it feels like I need to do this and to promote our people and to share with the world what we have to offer.
So, what does the name Chief Little Eagle represent to you?
So Little Eagle was actually my given native name from my father. So my father gave me Little Eagle. And as I grew, my people actually have started calling me Chief Little Eagle. And that's how I actually been stuck with this name, is actually our Algonquin people, family and friends, have now labeled me as Chief Little Eagle. And I am going for, this title has never happened before. but I'm hoping we can unite all reservations and all chiefs and everybody together. But I want to achieve the greatest achievement I think I could possibly achieve in this lifetime, and that's become the ultimate chief of all chiefs. And what this means is just leading the chief position or leading the chief role as an example of a true leader. So Trent, I don't party, I don't do drugs, I don't drink, I work out every day. I have a very strict regimen, so I stick to my routine every single day. I have the first 4 hours of my day is all on personal development and getting myself set and prepared for the day. And then the rest of the day is to help others and to serve. And that is what I do every single day. I don't change my routine. That is what I'm about. And so Chief Little Eagle is now my brand, is who I am and who I'm going to become. So I actually just was in this election for my reservation this past year for the first election, and done pretty good with it. And so I'm going to keep going. And that's my mission right now, is just try to lead by example and try to be the best role model for our children, because that's what our future is about, is our children. And that's what matters. So I've been putting a lot of focus. My business is actually partnered with Every Child Matters. So I donate 50% of my proceeds to Every Child Matters. So I've already donated thousands of dollars to local reservations and my own reservation to help out the children. And I just started this worldwide project that is going on a Canada-wide tour. And I'm hoping to meet every Indigenous chief and every reservation in Canada.
So what traditional teachings have guided your path through life and leadership?
So the traditional teachings, very important to me, is the 7 grandfather teachings. That has a very huge role or impact on my belief system. I also end up sticking to the native ways, the old traditional ways, as much as I can possibly do in the 21st century in modern times. So I'm trying right now to actually, I call myself a hybrid native, and I'm actually trying to balance between the 21st century modern development and technology with our old traditional ways, and trying to get a fine balance in the line so that we can live our ways and still be able to operate and network with the world.
So what does hunting connect you to your culture and your purpose? How does hunting connect you to your
Hunting is a huge aspect of my life. Well, and not just my life, in the Indigenous culture itself. Is I was raised up on hunting and on wild game. And I don't know about you, Trent, but as you know, wild game has a very unique and true taste. And so once you have wild game your whole life, I can tell you, my friend, I cannot eat anything else except wild game for it. And that's what meets my taste buds. So hunting's been a huge effect. My father got me my first pellet gun when I was 6 years old for Christmas. He used to take me out to hunt small game. He taught me the basics, how to hunt rabbits, partridge, how to snare. I used to go out with my uncles, did trapping and all that. So hunting is a huge aspect in the Indigenous culture. And a lot of people don't understand that this is how we provide for our families and take care of our communities. There's a lot of elders that can't get out there anymore and do the hard work that it takes to actually hunt and provide food for your family. So I end up helping out the elders as much as I can, and I provide for the reservations around the food. And so hunting is a huge aspect of my life, and I try to do it on a regular basis to keep my freezers and fridge full, and also to help out the elderly in the community.
So for like, what lessons from the land do you think every young Indigenous person should learn?
The lessons from the land they should learn is, first of all, respect Mother Earth. We only have one Earth, as far as I know anyways. And so we need to start taking care of it way better than what has been being taken care of. So if any message I can tell any of the young Indigenous or even youth out there, because all lives matter, is that treat Mother Earth with respect, take care of it, and Mother Earth provides everything that a human needs for survival, from food, water, to shelter. So a lot of people are suffering out there nowadays because money. It's a lot of people don't have money, and it's very expensive just living now. And so people, I want to tell you, brothers and sisters, Mother Earth gives you everything you need, from the medicine, from the food, to the recipes of any illnesses and things that we need to actually survive. And so young, respect Mother Earth, live from it, and treat it like you would like to be treated.
So how do you bring those old teachings into your work today as a firefighter and an entrepreneur?
So I've been trying to put these teachings in with my daily routine. So I try to end up blending it in as much as possible, that I can mix it and that it actually makes sense to work out. So if you talk to my neighbors and everybody around me, when I'm in my other property, which is in the city there, they will tell you quite a bit that you can take the native out of the bush, but you can't take the bush out of the native. So I still try to keep it as true and real as I can, even in the 21st century when it makes times tough and a little bit harder to show what us Indigenous are about.
So what's one moment that truly tested your strength or faith as a leader?
I would say right now is I'm getting tested a lot with my strength as a leader. There is a lot of, I would say, not knowledge that people know about, or they have a different perspective on the Indigenous culture. So a lot of people are not educated on the true ways and what actual treaties are, what how we actually operate as Indigenous with the country. And so it is very important for us to end up sticking to our ways. And the hardest part right now, I find, is trying to stand up and speak out about my heritage and culture, because there's a lot of slack you get back from your communities, and especially in the cities. And so the biggest thing right now is not to give up, to keep fighting for our people, and to stand up for them and take back what is ours, and to educate everybody out there. So that is my biggest problem right now, is just standing up to my roots and staying true to myself.
So how do you define Indigenous leadership in today's world?
I define Indigenous leadership in today's world to be the foundation of Canada. And to even make this farther, it's actually North America, Trent. And just like Canada, America has gone through the same history that we have. And so it is very important for us to stand together, to unite, and to speak up about the Indigenous heritage and culture, and what the true foundation of Canada is.
So what does discipline mean to you, and how has that shaped you for your success in today's world?
Could you say that again, Trent?
Like, how does discipline? What does discipline mean to you, and how did that shape you as you are today for success in this world?
So discipline has shaped me very importantly to who I am, the man I am today. And how it's shaped me on discipline is there is a lot of distractions and vices out in this world today. And I'm talking about drugs, alcohol, gambling, prostitution, and we can talk on many more. And the most important that most people don't realize is food. And food is a common vice that most don't realize that is a vice that most people have a problem with. That's why 90% of North America has an obese and unhealthy weight problem. And so discipline helps you design who you are to be the best versions of yourself. So every day is a battle. Every day I wake up, I have a very strict routine to end up keeping myself focused and disciplined and keep myself on the right path. And so discipline you need in your life if you are going to lead. And especially nowadays, you can't have any vices. You have to lead by example. And so by leading by example, you have to live your life the true way. And so I live it as best as I can. And every day I try to be a better version of myself.
I guess you could say that the majority of it, though, like it's because the government, I guess, of Canada would be safe. Well, food sovereignty is one of the biggest issue right now. I guess you can say is why a lot of Indigenous people are communities in general. I guess you can say are trying to become more sovereign in general, right? So,
Yes.
I mean, in education, I mean, just by learning more based on what happened, because even with sovereignty, what it means between two nations, Canada is not the relationship that we have as Indigenous people, and people might not know that, but it's based on the fact of the United Kingdom, the UK. Canada has a partnership with the UK. We have a partnership with the Crown. I mean, we don't even, and like when you say Canada, when we say this is our land in general, this is the original, the people of this land are still here. And that's why people still think that we're not, right? So, I mean, for instance, like when people say, what is the problem? I mean, for instance, like there's a majority of all of us live on urban reserve members live, like say, for instance, like when you look at like, okay, well, do you live on your reserve? Well, it'd be like, well, I go to my reserve, I visit my reserve. But at the end of the day, it's like urban reserve members, there's more of us on off reserve than on reserve because of the fact of the economics, right? And that's how they designed it systematically. And then so for us to be like connective in the way that you talk, right? So here we are today. So hopefully with the knowledge that we spread for the young people, as you say, 7 generations, and all the teachings that we're trying to spread in general for our perspective, like the barriers, I just say like, it's just like being Indigenous. That's just the only issue, right? And like speaking about it and the way you're saying, right? Like openly and freely is like, because when you bring up these issues, people just get awkward. And it's just because, well, no one wants to speak about the truth, right? Like it's actually it's actually the truth, right? And then for food sovereignty, like people don't even know that the food pyramid, like the Canadian food pyramid, was built based on the fact of what residential schools put Indigenous kids through. Is that based on the fact of like depriving them of certain foods, and that's how they got the results they needed. So like, why do they? And like dairy wasn't even in our diet in general, and then for fact of like everything in like let's just say food, right? Like berries, things that are natural to us as Indigenous people. That's why, like, for me when I was younger, because I'm from the bush originally, like when I went to Japan, when I went there for nationals as for wrestling, I when I was younger, the only thing I could eat was berries and like meat, like just like beef and stuff, because the stuff they had over there wasn't, agreeing with me. And then even for when we used to go to Ontario to my relatives down in the Mohawk Nation there by Brantford, we even like, down there, they showed us the way of like, how the Mohawks lived. They even went down to the Rainbow Bridge. And even when they talk about the crossing, people don't know is that like you can cross without even telling them that, like with showing, you can show them nothing, but just telling them that you're Indigenous. Because before colonization, people didn't know this. Like, who said there was borders? Like, this is North America. Like that includes all of us, not just like people within Canada. That includes people in the States. That includes people in South America. That includes our Latino friends. All of our brothers and sisters all over. Like these Americas. And like for instance, like, and that's like the colonization wise. Like for instance, like for when we say where's our land, right? Like Mexicans in general, they can say Mexico, because like right now that's why you can see, like, even though for general, like why do the cartels and stuff like that, like I always ask questions, right? Like, and that's why like the Mohawks, literally they were an example of starting of why we still have like, we probably would have had more barriers if they didn't show an example of like how would it shows to come together as a nation. Like even for Standing Rock, I think 200 plus nations came together for water, and it's coming to that point too where it's like you're saying, like the ecosystem is like for the people though, like the social economics of things are changing, and people need to voice themselves before it's too late, as you say, because the government is changing a lot of things, even for business, and for things like you say, like the land, and trying to teach the young ones and show them, and just telling and expanding on the leadership and the resilience for the things that we're trying to show, right, for the young leaders out there. So I also appreciate you for being here and speaking out on these types of issues. And for anything else, if you want to bring up, like I said, for anything like what you're going through, like if there's any issues, like you said you went bankrupt in 2019 or 2020, 21?
No, 2020.
Oh, 2020, 2021. All right. And like, for instance, like for out there, like how did you get through all of that? Like for instance, for our listeners out there as entrepreneurs, especially indigenous entrepreneurs, like from nation to nation.
Yeah, so it's been a struggle, brothers and sisters, since 2021, and I assume it's just like everybody else. We all went through this pandemic worldwide, and the hardest part of myself was to not give up and to keep fighting and keep pushing forward. And the problem is nowadays is we give up too easy, and as soon as we meet any challenges or obstacles, we throw in the towel. And that's not the way it needs to be. If we want any change to happen, we need to stand up and we need to fight for it. And so that entitles blood, sweat, and tears. And that takes us a lot of work. So when I lost everything in 2020, that, my friend, that actually brought me closer to my roots. I was actually, because I was a 14 years municipal firefighter, and like you were saying earlier, Trent, that a lot of us have been pushed to the city and don't live as much on the urban reservations as we would like to end up living on, that we should be, that I started losing not my ways, but just not paying attention as much to Mother Nature and to the wilderness. And so when that happened, I got to say the pandemic was the best thing that ever happened to me, because this is what started Hunting for Greatness the Native Ways. This is what started my big mission and my biggest project right now that I'm working on, which is the Truth and Reconciliation Pin. So Trent, I will just talk a little bit about this pin, brother, because this is a very important movement for all Indigenous worldwide here. So I created the Truth and Reconciliation Pin. So as we know, in Canada, we have a holiday called Remembrance Day. And Remembrance Day is celebrated for all the men and women that had sacrificed their life for a cause that should not have happened. Now, Remembrance Day is very important for the people that lost their lives. And that is it. That is my opinion about that. And so Truth and Reconciliation, the actual holiday, just got created in 2021 when the government actually started, when it came to the public eyes, about the truth about the residential schools. And so the government wants to end up making a holiday to show some kind of empathy, sympathy, whatever the case may be. So they started Truth and Reconciliation. But as you know, Trent, where's the advertisement? We just went through September 30th, Truth and Reconciliation, and I can tell you, I barely seen any advertisements. I barely heard anything on the radio. Did I see posters all over? Did I see anything? None of that. Now we're coming up to November, which is going to be Remembrance Day. Now watch what you see on media, what you see on socials, what you see around your communities. Promoting Remembrance Day, which is one day. Truth and Reconciliation is every day, brothers and sisters. So I took this into initiative and I created, which is called the little golden eagle feather pin, Truth and Reconciliation feather pin. This is actually a bigger version, so you know what it looks like here. So this is the Truth and Reconciliation pin. I started a tour, so I'm visiting every single reservation in Canada first, and I am distributing these pins. This is the very first product that is actually 100% Indigenous owned, and that it has a business model to actually help out us Indigenous people, to actually bring money into the communities, and it's all our money, which now you guys don't need to take any more handouts from the government. And this is the biggest problem, brothers and sisters, is we keep taking handouts from the government that took it from us in the first place. Now, why do you think you don't have control over your reservations or what projects goes down in your reservations? It is because, guess what? You are taking money from government, and the government has control over you. So you need to stop this, brothers and sisters. So what I did was created this Truth and Reconciliation pin. It has a business model like this. The pin actually goes for $5 a pin. If you distribute the pin, so the reservations, you actually get the pin for $3.40. That is $1.60, which is a 40% profit margin. That money per pin is for you as a person or for your community to do whatever you like with it. So to give you bigger numbers, Trent, if you sold 100 pins, a 40% profit margin is $160. If you sell 8,000 pins, 40% profit margin, 5,000 pins, a 40% profit margin is $8,000. This money is going right to the community or to the people that are distributing the pin. The great thing about this, Trent, is that this goes to us. It goes to nobody else. And so whatever you decide as a community to distribute, you distribute it however you like it. So this is actually the first time that's mainstream that anybody can take this product, take this model for their reservation, for their community, and end up standing up, supporting for truth and reconciliation, and showing true support. So these are actually window decals that I've been distributing everywhere I go. I'm going to the reservations, distributing these to everybody, because I want everybody to start showing support. If you truly support the Indigenous and truth and reconciliation, then you should have some feather. You should have some kind of support. So I want this to be, Trent, the unity symbol worldwide. And this is the biggest movement that I've started. And I'm coming to reservations near you. I'm doing Ontario first. So Ontario, there's 118 different reservations in Ontario. I'm visiting every reservation, distributing the pins so they can start distributing the pins out and start bringing money into the community and start helping themselves and start building our own community together. And the other thing I have, Trent, here is this is called the Indigenous Declaration of Independence. So not even that I'm going to every reservation to distribute the Truth and Reconciliation pins, but I'm also getting every chief that stands up and supports truth and reconciliation to sign the Indigenous Declaration of Independence. And when I have every chief in Canada sign this Indigenous Declaration of Independence, I am going to unite everybody together, and we are going to stand and fight up against the government on what is true and what is needed to be done. And this is time. Today, this point of time is the time for us to stand together and unite as one. And so all lives matter. It's not just for the Indigenous, but for us, brothers and sisters, for the Indigenous, this is our way. This is our way to stand up, be loud and proud, and to support our Indigenous brothers and sisters all over the world. So that is a little bit, Trent, of the Truth and Reconciliation pin that I'm trying to make worldwide, everybody to know and to support and to help out each other.
I think I just seen our premier wear one of those feather pins.
Really?
Yeah, but not your pin though. It's some other pin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it was a feather though. It was a feather pin. If you look it up, it was. Yeah, his name is. Yeah, but yeah, I saw it. It was just because he was recognizing, like you said, for residential and people in La Crosse, they just received, I think it was 40 million. But it's because it's also a Métis settlement as well, right? So, but there was a residential school, so and now they just received money. So like, there's, I guess you can say, as you say, for policies and in general for everything, and that's the majority of where it also stops our people, right? Because a lot of what you talk about too is that like when a lot of these policies were made or remade were like, you know, about 20 plus years ago, and like majority of it too, like we don't have lawyers, we don't have people informing us about things that are happening. They don't include, you know, let's just say for our forefathers, our founding fathers, of why we're Indigenous in general. People don't understand why are we still accepting, let's just say, for benefits that should be still ours, but we're not receiving as for like, economics and all of this. So that's why right now, you see the push as, for instance, like tribal nations down in the States, they're very educated and based on the fact because they're pushing, for their sovereignty, and which a lot of them are, right? They're sovereign. That's why you can't even go onto their land because the FBI has to go on this because it's federal. And it's like even they have to like, get permission to go onto their land. And so for
Yes.
that, like that being said, like, for what you're talking about is like, when there was a war between, where you are, right, in Ontario, people don't even really know about this. But why is America the way it is, and why are we the way we are? And then we talk about, all of this stuff happening, globally, like, nation to nation, people don't even know, but, we might know, and then you might say this, but like people are very educated, as we know, but it's like, we don't know how to voice ourselves because, when you're placing these things, right, like for you, economically, you're based where, right, in Ontario, and there's probably a lot of traffic, right, that you get, but based on the fact of where I'm from, it's like not as a lot of
Yes.
traffic, but we're known worldwide though, as you can know. Like if you look onto like the world, like, our just premier just went to like, BC, and he's doing DC, and he's doing all of these like promoting, and it's like, well, okay, well, I look at these leaders and they're like, well, it's all about media, right? And there's nothing
Yes.
happening with media. All you see is TikTok, and TikTok is great, but I mean, like, there's no actual, and that's what RezToCEO
Yes.
podcast is about, is like essentially I'm trying to build a podcast studio where it's like, we're the first, like, Indigenous owned 100%, collecting all of this, because like I said,
Yes.
who's promoting it, who's doing it? Because even for the ones that are receiving it, they're like you said, like, where is the majority of their funding coming from? It's from the government, right? And like they have policies, they have guidelines, and that's why like Nunavut, as for generalizing, they receive like help from the government, but they don't have any governance over anything that happens in Nunavut. But how is that possible? Within 80 years,
Right.
they did that, right? But even if you look onto the onto the government website, they include every other province except Nunavut. But Nunavut still gets help from the government. But how is that possible?
Yes. That's a good question, Trent.
Yeah. So, and I mean, there's a lot of partnerships within Ontario that I know that have partnership with Nunavut, because Ontario too has different parties. They have different, policies, and generalizing just and everything. You learn all of this by just being a part of it, just over there, right? I'm just saying is there's no bridge. Let's just say,
Yes.
for instance, like you run a hunting. Let's just say, for instance, like you hunt and everything.
Yes.
You're out there hunting for greatness, right? But how can you help others do that if you're not there? Because, like you said, digitally and everything is great, but but the world that we live in, like when it shuts down, as we know, as Indigenous people, where do we go, right? How do we know
Yes.
what nations are there for us in general, just being as a friend or just in a need for helping each other? But I'm saying is that before that time comes, there's things like you can say, for instance, like we have to start doing it now, because there's
Yes.
that time, right? Like, if like for where you are, a lot about all of these things that are happening, and even down in the north or anywhere else, because technology is now advancing rapidly all
Yes.
over the world. And like, for instance, like, how do you see traditional knowledge working together with modern innovation, or like technology or AI?
Well, I've been trying to combine that, Trent, of our old ways with the modern technology. And for example, so I created a medicine wheel ceremony for the actual non-Indigenous. As you know, our medicine wheel ceremony for the Indigenous are pretty sacred, and we keep it pretty close to our heart. So I designed one because I was like, well, it's great for us to have the medicine wheel and everything, but if we can't share this with others, then what is the point of having the medicine wheel just kept to ourselves? Like, there's important knowledge in the medicine wheel that everyone needs to know. And so I created a medicine wheel ceremony, which is called Discover the Medicine Wheel, a one-day path to healing, nature, and wisdom of the native ways. And what I did with this is not just in physical ceremony form, I also put it in digital form. So now I'm just finishing it up right now, but there is going to be a full online digital medicine wheel ceremony. So I feel, Trent, what we need to do as Indigenous, because we need to adapt with the changing of times and with the modern technology, that all we need to do is stay true to our Indigenous ways, but implement the technology that is going to prosper us farther in our mission and what we're trying to achieve as a group or a community of Indigenous people.
So, like, do you think Indigenous people can use digital tools to tell our stories in a new ways?
Yes, and I think we need to adapt to these new ways because there's no changing it back or staying in past in time. So I feel we need to adapt into these modern times, into this technology, and implement it into our native life. And that's what we need to do because it's times are changing, the world's changing, and guess what, brothers and sisters, the past is already gone. The future is not promised, and all we have is today, the present. And so this is why it's very important for me to end up sharing as much as I can to every person that I can reach, and that's going to accept my perspective.
So, like, for what's one way we can keep culture alive while moving forward with business and tech?
I feel we need to keep speaking loud and proud and to go out there and not just a few of us Indigenous, all of us need to stand together, unite, and to speak and go network with people. So this is why, Trent, I've been 14 years as a firefighter and I'm retiring. I am leaving fire and I am focusing all on this Truth and Reconciliation PIN Canada-wide tour. And that's what I'm focusing on. And so we need to all stand together and end up putting our message out there as much as we can every single day on social media, on radio, any place we can. We need to be out there and we need to be making a difference.
So, what advice would you give to Indigenous youth who feels lost or disconnected right now?
For the Indigenous youth that feel lost and disconnected, reach out to the elders. I can tell one thing that I've learned so much from is from the elders of the different communities that are around that I visit in that. And they have so much information and truth about the original ways of life and how it was that if you do feel lost, go talk to the elders. Because this is another thing I've noticed, Trent, is a lot of our elders are passing on to the other life. And so we are losing a lot of education, knowledge, and traditions because the younger generation is not learning from the older generation. So we need to, younger generation, we need to respect our elders and we need to learn. Drop the digital devices and start learning from the elders because one day they're not going to be here and we're going to lose everything that was important to our native ways.
Do you use any tech in your, let's just say, for instance, like VR or things like that? How do you document anything, all of your ceremonies, or do you show?
Yes. Yes. So the technology I use is camera. So I film everything from my medicine wheel ceremonies. I'm also doing a lot of lives, trying to keep people posted on my adventures. So as I tour Canada and go visit the different reservations, I want to put the different reservations and communities on the map. So I'm visiting every single one, documenting my whole journey. And this whole mission that I've been on, the Hunted for Greatness, the Native Ways, has been all documented and put on the internet. So it is out there, Trent, and it's always going to be out there. And that's how I'm utilizing technology, is making people understand and know that we aren't stuck in the past, that we are in the future. We are very educated, the modern natives. And let me tell you, we are here. We're going to speak loud. We're going to speak proud, and we're going to show the world. And there's going to be so much digital documentation of the modern ways of the natives that this is our time to set the ways straight and to make it right.
So for the youth out there, for how could they start building confidence and identity again?
So this is actually one of the events I run with my company, Hunted for Greatness. I offer one-on-one personal guidings. And so I love taking out the younger generation. So I take 1 to 2 young brothers or sisters out, and I teach them the true hunting or fishing ways in that. So a lot of youth just need to tap back into Mother Nature. And I would say that's it right there, man. Young youth, if you go back out to Mother Nature and actually talk with it and actually ground with Mother Earth, you will have your answers. So the ones that are lost and aren't and don't think there's nobody out there, Mother Earth is always there. And I can tell you one thing, that's where I get a lot of my answers from. It's not from this world listening to other people, it's from Mother Earth. And so I follow my heart, I follow the messages that the Creator sends from above, and I just proceed ahead. And that's my ways of doing it. And it is tough. It is tough times right now, especially for the young Indigenous. But you need to know there's others out there. We got your back. You got support. Just come find us. Like, especially Trent, I want to say this. I appreciate everything you're doing. I see exactly what you're doing, and you're in the same mindset as I am for us Indigenous people. And so this is what we need to end up passing on to your younger generation, that we are built to last and nothing is unstoppable for us to achieve. And if we've lasted this long and survived, guess what? We can survive the future and nothing is impossible.
So for like, what do you want the next generation to remember about who we are as a people?
I want them to remember who we are as a people, as the true ones, as the ones that have not lost our way. I still believe deep down in my heart that the Indigenous are the only ones that know about the true ways of life. And what I mean is, before development, before we became into this technology and modern times, they're still the ones that has all the information. And that was the way it was before any of this modern times ever happened. So yeah, we need to just get back to the basics and keep promoting our ways.
So for us, what's your vision for the future of hunting for greatness and Indigenous leadership?
So my vision for Hunting for Greatness and the Indigenous leadership is to have more of us out there making a difference, standing up for our people, and having every Indigenous community to start taking care of themselves and be self-sufficient. That's the key word, Trent. Self-sufficient. The problem is, brothers and sisters, you keep taking handouts. You can't take handouts if you don't want to get controlled. So you need to start doing things yourself. And that is pure entrepreneur mindset. And you need to start bringing into money into your communities and start taking things into your own hands and making a difference for ourselves, because no one's going to do it. The government has showed us plenty of times they're not doing it. So guess what? It's left to us. We need to do it.
So if you can leave one message for every young person listening, what would it be?
Brothers and sisters, Pat Maness, Chief Little Eagle, the only message I want to pass to all young warriors is keep your head up, stay focused, and if you ever have any questions, turn to Mother Earth, because Mother Earth is the only creation that has the true answers. Nobody else. So focus on Mother Earth and get back to our native roots. The only way, the right way, the native ways.
Well, thank you for being here, Pat. That was amazing. And I hopefully with the listeners out there that they can, reach out to both of us. And also at the fact before we head out here, I just wanted to ask you, do you have anything else you wanted to say to the listeners?
Yes, all listeners out there, I hope that you guys are doing well, and that there are people in your communities that are speaking out for you. and that there are warriors coming through that is coming to help. So I'm looking forward to meeting every single one of yous that I can. I'm going to try to keep everybody posted on my Canada-wide tour, and I'm looking forward to visit every reservation and to try to help out as many people as I can and do what we can together as a community and uniting as Indigenous people like we should, and to make this place a better future for our young ones. So thank you, Miigwech, to all you listeners out there for watching us. And I look forward to doing another podcast in the future to show what we have achieved and accomplished in these next few years.
Marcy Cho and Pat, thank you for being on the podcast. Marcy Cho.
Miigwech. Thank you, Trent.